Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're all well. Thomas Roman coming to you today with our latest episode with a special guest, Joseph Roman, President and CEO of Accelerant Sales Group, a company specializing in outsourced sales management, sales training, and go-to-market strategies. Joe, it's good to see you. How are you today?
How are you, Tom? Thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for being on the show, man. Hey, Joe, let's talk a little bit about Accelerant and some of the things you guys do to help your customers attain, better revenues and things of that nature.
Well, Accelerant Sales Group, Tom, started out with an idea, and that idea was business has two driving factors. One is to make more money, and one is to cut costs. So if you're cutting costs, you're making more money. And then if you're making more money via revenue and increased sales and increased market share, then you're also increasing your revenue and therefore your profits. So Accelerant Sales Group really hits both of those value points, if you will, or both of those drivers of people's motivation to decide to outsource their sales and marketing and sales training versus maybe trying to do it inside or maybe augmenting it with an outsourced model. That's the essential essence of what Accelerant is.
And Joe, you came up with the concept for Accelerant while you worked at Intel Corporation, is that correct?
Yes, when I was working at Intel Corporation, I was in the sales role. So I had different type of responsibility there, including direct sales, OEM sales, channel sales marketing in those areas. And I had a lucky exposure to several companies that were in a similar business to what Accelerant is now, but just not exactly the same. They were more regional players. They were more focused on specific accounts, individual people in different geographies, working from home, things like that. Whereas we saw a need in the market to bridge the gap between what a traditional marketing company was, which was either a PR company or a regular marketing or advertising company, excuse me, and also comparing that to a traditional manufacturer's rep or a direct sales force. We came up with the model of having an outsourced sales model where somebody could have either a local, national, or even an international presence to deliver their product or service to market. And the premise of that is based on what we call a partial ownership model. An individual company can decide to have an effort of either a part-time basis, let's say someone that works 20 hours per week, versus maybe multiple sales reps working in different parts of the U.S. or around the world on a full-time basis. The main benefit that we offer is companies have a much shorter time to market, so the time it takes for them to get a product to market and do what we call monetizing their product is reduced dramatically. And the way it is reduced dramatically is that the specific people in our company, most of the people in our company are either inside sales, field sales, or what we call a sales engineer role. They have a team of people that help them solve their problems. We always say two heads are better than one. That's essentially the basis of kind of how it started and where we are now.
Excellent. Now, Joe, if you were to say, I know you're one of the best people I've ever met at sales and managing sales teams and in terms of sales training, what are some pointers you might give our audience and how they, if they, maybe have a business they're starting, or some of the maybe pointers you can give, a would-be entrepreneur that how they can increase their sales or sales strategy? What are some ideas they might have for that?
I would say if you look at the essence of what an entrepreneur is someone who is what I would consider inwardly directed or inwardly resourceful, who have something inside of them that makes them want to make a difference, bring a product to market, bring a service to market, maybe provide a certain value add that other people don't provide. Could be a home cleaning business. It could be someone like Steve Jobs creating a company called Apple, across the gamut. The advice I would give the viewers would be to not ever be discouraged or compare yourself to other people. What you want to do is always stay true to your goal and your conviction, which is believing in yourself, focusing on a market, and constantly improving yourself, overcoming your personal challenges, overcoming your personal obstacles in order to be better at what you do. And when you're better at what you do, your customers will perceive more value, and you'll ultimately be a more successful entrepreneur because the service you provide. Earl Nightingale was a famous motivational author, speaker, and writer. He talked about the Great Depression, and he talked about successful people versus unsuccessful people.
Mm-hmm.
The successful people positioned what they were going to offer in the terms of service and how it would help others, whereas the unsuccessful people were out there looking for a job.
Mm-hmm.
They were looking for an opportunity to make idle hands useful, per se, versus approaching people saying, this is the value I provide, this is the service, this is the difference I can make that you may not recognize now, but you can recognize. That's the essence of entrepreneurialism.
Mm-hmm.
We talk about this a lot at NJIT, where I'm on the board and I'm also an adjunct professor.
Mm-hmm.
We specifically go over strategies around product marketing, sales force management, and personal selling. Those components combined with a good product and a delivery strategy are what make a successful entrepreneur successful.
Mm-hmm.
You're ready, aiming, and then you're firing, versus the old montage, which was, let me build something, let me come up with something, and it will come. We've all heard stories about people that have ice cream shops, people that open up a bread and breakfast, people that open up a diner that just doesn't succeed,
Mm-hmm.
people that try buying a franchise. I heard a story on Bloomberg Radio about an individual who bought an ice cream franchise in Maine. It's cold there more than anywhere else in the U.S. It wasn't successful. He bought a seasonal business in a place that didn't have the right kind of climate, temperature, and the people that lived there didn't accept it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's essentially some of the tips I'll give people. Have that stick-withedness,
Mm-hmm.
focus, don't get nervous, and always know where you can improve yourself.
Mm-hmm. Now, what are some, maybe, thank you, that was excellent, by the way. Now, what are some tips you might give in terms of how to have maybe a better sales strategy in terms of, how to identify maybe, the niche they're going after, and how to maybe, offer value and to make people, want to buy from you as opposed to trying to sell so much,
Yeah.
What's in that range?
Well, there's two things, and I use a supermarket analogy.
Mm-hmm.
What products do you recognize when you go to the supermarket?
Mm-hmm.
The ones that are in the right aisle and positioned in front of your face where you can actually see them, compared to something that might be by the floor or above your head. You look around and you see cereal, products, yogurts, hot chocolate, coffee. Everything you recognize, the household brands are positioned in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the tips I give people that are getting into an entrepreneurial venture or trying to sell something, is first identifying where do you have to be where your customer is looking for that product or service.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And I would say for someone who's an entrepreneur, you obviously normally, unless you have a lot of venture capital, which some people have, but your average entrepreneur starts on a shoestring budget.
Mm-hmm.
I'd recommend that person to find the venues that are the lowest cost to get the maximum market exposure.
Mm-hmm.
For some people, let's say you owned a hair salon. It might be going to Chamber of Commerce's with business cards and having a breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
For other companies, it might be buying a list. For a certain geography, let's say you were a landscaping company, a roofing company, or a lawyer, targeting people of a certain demographic in a region via either mailers or phone calls or targeted marketing. Other places for people to go would be online. So using optimization, social media optimization, Facebook, Google, and Twitter, starting a fan page, integrating into your website.
Mm-hmm.
So how people need to look at it should really be geared upon how their customers will perceive what they're trying to accomplish, rather than where they think is a good place to go because they think it's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are knocking on the wrong door.
Mm-hmm.
There was an analogy of a story actually of a bank robber who got arrested for robbing a bank, and they addressed him and they said, "Why did you rob the bank?" He said, "That was very simple. I went where the money is."
Yes, yes.
So you can look at these, kind of, some of it's symbolic, but there's a lot of real fundamental truths behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to always look at the market you're trying to serve from the other person's perspective and try to be where they're looking for the services you need.
Mm-hmm. Very nice. Yeah, and that's a great point. That's one of the things that I try to emphasize to people too is in entrepreneurship, you may try several different ideas, but when one has traction, which is what Joe alluded to before, was when it has traction, you really invest in that venture. When people start buying, demand is there. And I agree with that 100%. And Joe, do you have any concluding comments you may want to say that for our audience that may maybe help them reach their goals, or or how they can contact you and things like that?
Sure. As far as reaching your goals, there's never a bad idea. There's never a stupid idea.
Mm-hmm.
talk to people. If you have an idea, think of it from a business perspective, not just from a fun perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And I use the analogy of the person that opens up the bed and breakfast because they think it'd be a fun job to have, or they think it will be a fun business, whereas when they get into that, it's really not that much fun. They don't know how to run the business.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say always have your first step in mind, your plan in mind, but also have step 2 and step 3. So plan B and plan C. Go to your business venture with the idea of it may take several tries. It's going to take a lot of self-efficacy, a lot of self-confidence to achieve your goal. But never let temporary setbacks make you lose focus of realizing what your real goals are.
Mm-hmm.
Look inside yourself. Believe in yourself. Focus on markets where you feel you have some, what I call domain expertise.
Mm-hmm.
Specific expertise in that area. And always think of ways to improve it. But a lot of good, like to quote a famous businessman, Steve Jobs from Apple, when you really look closely, a lot of overnight successes took a long time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So think about that as well, those type of things.
Mm-hmm.
For most of the businesses you see, took a long, long time to build, and they started with an idea.
Mm-hmm.
And they started with someone who was dedicated to realizing that goal.
Yes.
And little goals are the ways you work your way to big goals.
You're right.
So thanks for having me, Tom.
Well,
I'm really
very much.
honored.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then to contact Joe, just check out Acceleran, ACCELERANT sales.com, or you can call him at 973-331-0600. And I want to thank Joe for being on the show, and hope to see you again soon.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you very much. Have a great
I'm
day.
honored. Thank you.
You too.